We are living through a crisis that differs from any in human history because of its scale, its speed, and its interconnection. Previous civilizations collapsed locally when the societies of the Mayan lowlands experienced ecological overshoot and systemic failure. Their catastrophes remained contained. The same pattern played out on Easter Island, where resource depletion led to a localized civilizational failure. When Rome fell, China continued. When the Ming dynasty collapsed, Europe thrived. For most of our history, the failure of one society never threatened the survival of the entire human project. Today, we possess technologies powerful enough to render the planet uninhabitable. We no longer have a geographic margin of error. Local failures now risk the stability of the entire biosphere. Climate disruption, the misalignment of artificial intelligence, and the steady erosion of democratic institutions are the most visible threats we face. These are symptoms of a deeper pattern, the behavior of complex systems approaching critical thresholds. Systems theorists identify the convergence of these multiple interacting threats as the Metacrisis. The interaction between these risks creates a compound danger that exceeds the sum of its parts. As inventor Charles Kettering observed, a problem well stated is a problem half solved. Navigating this crisis requires seeing the problem with absolute clarity. To find a path forward, we have to look past surface symptoms and address the underlying game-theoretic and psychological root dynamics that drive this trajectory. In 1968, ecologist Garrett Hardin described a dynamic he called the tragedy of the commons. This multipolar trap is a configuration where individually rational behavior produces collectively catastrophic outcomes. If one actor overharvests, they capture the full benefit while distributing the depletion cost. Others must follow or face elimination, rewarding defection until the commons collapses. This dynamic now governs our most dangerous technologies. Any nation that slows AI development for safety considerations loses a strategic advantage to rivals who do not slow down. The same logic applies to climate negotiations. Defecting from carbon agreements provides a short-term economic advantage. If major emitters defect, the cost of unilateral restraint becomes too high for others to bear. The multipolar trap actively selects for irresponsibility. Within these existing incentive structures, those who attempt to act with restraint are consistently outcompeted by those who ignore the collective consequence. These traps are encoded into the institutional dashboards we use to measure global progress. We operate through narrow optimization. Maximizing a single metric, like quarterly profit, degrades everything the metric fails to measure. When we treat environmental damage as an externality, the distance between our economic models and physical reality grows until the system breaks. Corporate and political systems frequently reward short-term extraction while shielding decision-makers from the long-term fallout. These misaligned incentives ensure that the people making the choices do not bear their consequences. Our institutions function exactly as designed, engineering success by externalizing costs until the cumulative weight of those ignored risks destabilizes the entire system. These extractive institutions are the external reflections of the worldview that built them. At the root of the crisis is a crisis of perception. We experience ourselves as separate from the ecosystems we depend upon, allowing us to treat nature as a resource to be optimized for narrow benefit. A person who experiences themselves as separate from the living world will design systems that extract from it. When we perceive others as competitors to defeat, rather than participants in a shared flourishing, we treat governance as a zero-sum war. There's a continuous feedback loop between our inner awareness and our outer structures. Our consciousness shapes the institutions we design, and those institutions then shape the consciousness of everyone forced to operate within them. Structural redesign without a transformation in consciousness reproduces the same patterns in new forms. Both the systems and our perception must change simultaneously. The most critical challenge to our survival is the speed and power of modern technological change. Ray Kurzweil documented the law of accelerating returns, where each generation of technology enables the faster, exponential development of the next. Historically, humanity relied on reactive governance, observing damage after it occurred and passing regulations to fix it. In the mid-20th century, Rachel Carson catalyzed change after witnessing the visible devastation caused by chemical pesticides. This reactive model worked because the harm from DDT accumulated slowly. There was time for institutional response before the damage became irreversible. We saw a similar success when international agreements phased out CFCs only after atmospheric degradation was clearly observed on a global scale. This approach fails today. Self-replicating synthetic organisms and advanced AI develop on timelines measured in weeks and months. These technologies cross irreversible thresholds faster than traditional human institutions can even evaluate them. Our institutions are designed for a world that moves at human speed. They are fundamentally mismatched to govern exponential capabilities that create permanent consequences the moment they are deployed. Dynamical systems theory identifies attractors, the states toward which complex systems inevitably converge. Civilization is currently being pulled toward three distinct futures. The first is the attractor of cascading failure. This is the result of continued coordination breakdown, where ecological and social systems degrade until the infrastructure of cooperation is lost. The second attractor is concentrated control. As crises intensify, the demand for order often justifies authoritarian coercion. This solves the coordination problem by surrendering civil liberties to overwhelming central authority. The third attractor is regenerative cooperation. This is the narrow path, the development of coordination capacity that can address planetary challenges without resorting to coercion. Reaching this third attractor requires more than policy change. It requires us to redesign the game-theoretic structures of our institutions while simultaneously evolving the consciousness that inhabits them.